Hashem Nacido Natzliach Shiur Torah Buchim Habayim. We're back here from Eretz Yisrael, from Eretz HaKodesh, from Jerusalem, Baruch Hashem, and we're ready for a new week in this time of war, the war between Am Yisrael and the Ishmaelim, Yimach Shemam V'Zichram. Be'ezrat Hashem, this shiur will be for the Refuah Shlema, for all of the people that have been hurt by this tragedy that has happened to our nation over this last week. And may HaKadosh Baruch Hu elevate the neshamot of all those that have been murdered and massacred in horrific ways, and all of the soldiers that are fighting for our right to exist. So, and as well as the Refuah Shlema of Rabbanit Levana Bat Sarah, Rav Ephraim Ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah Bat Anat, Avi Mori David Ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris Bat Joa, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahites. So, Baruch Hashem, where, as we promised, we're going to do a shiur, Be'ezrat Hashem, each day, but of course, as you know, we have to come up with new topics, new information, new details, as the Torah says in the Masechet Avot, Pirkei Avot, Afoch ba ve'afoch ba dekula ba. Delve into it and delve into it because everything is in it, unlike the heretical Quran or the false testament that are dependent on the ideas of their current people, whoever they are. Our holy sages go back as far as the time of Moshe Rabbeinu, and we have Baruch Hashem documented information, our Masoret, of what to think about everything, what to do about everything, and most importantly, that everything is in our holy Torah, including this war. Now, last week we completed the week with a lecture about the Torah perspective about having mercy at the time of war. And when we're talking about mercy, we're talking about, if you're bombing a place, if you're shooting, if you're in the middle of battle, the Torah does not give any permission for a Jewish soldier to have any mercy on who's going to end up dying as a result of this war, because it is a war. And whether it's someone that's fighting back, or it's a civilian, or it's a child, there is no mercy. And of course, we discussed several points in regards to that last week. We brought you some verses from the book of Deuteronomy and other places. Most importantly, we brought you the teachings of the sages that say, Amerachem al achzarim, someone that is merciful on vicious people is eventually going to be vicious, unmerciful people. So it's important for a person to know that the Torah itself has rules for these things. It's not something that we make up today. But needless to say, there are certainly going to be people that are going to either get confused or cry foul. Now, who's crying foul? The little babies from Hamas, the little babies from the supporters of Palestine, like their one of their leaders, Muhammad Hijab, Yimach Shemo V'Zichro, who constantly speaks against everybody that doesn't think like him, and over the years thought of himself as a debater, but of course showed his true colors in the last couple of days as he walked in the streets of, I believe it was London or somewhere in the UK over there, looking and screaming out that he wants Jewish blood, obviously showing that he's a terrorist, just like we always knew. A person that goes around pretending to be a scholar, but yet runs around asking for Jewish blood, looking for Jewish blood. Obviously, we see that there's no scholarship there, there's no wisdom there, there's only terror there. There's only animosity there, because that's the ideology. And that's the ideology that a person needs to know that we are fighting. We're not fighting people that are peaceful. We're not fighting people that are decent. We're not fighting people that want to have some type of peace in the world. We're fighting people that are looking for world domination, while at the same time enslaving and murdering and raping and terrorizing everybody else. That's what the Sharia law is. That's what their teachings is. And of course, there's going to be some people say, yeah, but the Quran doesn't say this and the Quran doesn't say that. The truth is the Quran says a lot of different things that contradict itself. So you can't really depend on a Quran. You have to depend on what the people are doing. And when the people come in and break the borders and then terrorize civilians and then do all types of horrible things that we discussed last week in the lecture, so we don't have to repeat them, as I'm sure all of you already know about all the different horrific, atrocious terrorizing that they've done to our people, to our children, to our women, then you see the actions of the people. And in fact, you could even see the actions that they do on their own people. What they do to their own people, whether it's the massacres of their own people through different gas bombs, where they killed 250,000 people in a matter of a few months in Syria, or it's the hostility they have to anyone that questions the system, and even simply how they raise their kids. But again, this is important for the public to know again and again. Why? Because one of the things that we discussed last week is that the curse that the snake got after he lied about God didn't take away his blessing. Meaning, the blessing that the snake got was that he's al-mumi, he's a conniving. And that's exactly the curse of the Ishmaelim, where they're conniving and they're making the world think that they're decent, the world think that they are victims, the world think like these Rasha Muhammad Hijab, Imach Shemo V'Zichro, like he thinks. Like they are in the right, and the rest of us that are thinking otherwise are in the wrong. So it's important to know that when we're discussing Torah, we're not discussing our opinions. We're not discussing things that we think are good ideas. We're thinking things that are stamped and sealed as the Word of God. And anyone that wants to doubt it is going to have to fight with a few more verses tonight that are going to show you clearly how the Torah says, Afuch ba ve'afuch ba dekula ba, delve into it and delve into it, because everything is in it. And if you're looking at the other religions, just like the king of Khuzar did nearly 1,000 years ago, when he was trying to determine which one is the right religion, whether it's Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, which he thought is the least likely because they were the persecuted people, they were the smallest people, but he ended up converting to Judaism after he met with Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, that Rabbi Yehuda Levi, and realized that anything that is of any truth and of any value that is inside the Quran or the New Testament comes from the Torah. And all the other garbage that they have is easily disprovable. So it's important for a person to know the truth without having any hesitation, without being politically correct, without worrying about censoring and blocking and all that stuff. And whether they censor, they block, we're going to keep coming, just like we've been coming for the last 3,300 years without stopping. No matter how much they persecute us, no matter how much they censor us, no matter how much they go against us, we keep fighting. Why? Because we have a Kadosh Baruch Hu with us. And no matter how much you try to hurt us, all you're doing is just scratching. All you're doing is just scratching, because all the greatest civilizations that ever lived, whether it's the Babylonians or the Assyrians, or it's the Spaniards, or it's the Nazis, or it's anybody else out there, they all tried to go against Am Yisrael, and they hurt us, but all they did is just scratch us. They're gone. We're still here. Yishtabach Shemo La'ad, as HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised us through all the prophets. So now tonight we're going to go over a few things, Rabotai Yekarim. We're going to go over a few things to let you know that the Torah itself, Ishtabach Shemo, may his name be blessed, the Torah itself already told us about all of this. And we're going to have to see how we're going to use this information of how all of this was here in order for us to get out of this situation, in order for us to better this situation, in order for us to make sure these types of situations don't continue happening. So, first and foremost, we know that in the Torah, there are different ways of analyzing things in the Torah, of finding things in the Torah. There are rules. There are rules to how a person is going to analyze the Torah. There are rules of understanding the verses, because we can't just explain from our own mind like they do in Christianity. We have to have the rules. And one of the things we got at Mount Sinai, aside from the Ten Commandments, aside from the written Torah up to Parashat Yitro, aside from the oral Torah laws of how to do everything, whether it's tefillin or tzitzit or anything else, is the scriptural exegesis rules, meaning how to take a verse and understand it. How to take a verse and understand it. And therefore, when the sages debate in the Talmud, or in the Midrash, or in the Zohar, or in any other place, when they're debating, they're not debating because one guy broke the rules and the other guy used the rules. No, they're debating because they both used the rules. And they arrived at a certain conclusion. Now, at times, they're going to see, no, one of them actually got it right, and they complete, and they all agree with this one particular side. At other times, they say, listen, zeh v'zeh divrei Elokim chaim. This and this are the words of the living God, meaning even though they have different opinions on one thing, since they both used the tools of how to interpret the verses, both of them are the words of the living God. So, we have extraordinary amount of information from our sages of how to understand the verses. We don't interpret things ourselves. We have our sages that have already done it for us over the last several thousand years. One of the things that has developed in recent years, as far as the technology that we have today, is that in the Gemara in Masechet Chagiga, it says that there were certain chachamim, certain sages that knew how to count the letters. Now, for many years, people understood that they loved the Torah so much that they literally knew exactly where everything is. But in recent years, we understood that there's many things aside from counting the letters and knowing where everything is. And by the way, I know a few chachamim that know how to do that. It's literally like seeing an angel on earth. Knowing somebody that knows everything exactly where it is. Everything exactly where it is. Somebody asked the Chafetz Chaim, how is it that this, you know where everything is? He says, listen, you have a business? You have somebody that knows a business? Yes, this guy, I know he has a business. What does he have? Oh, he has a store. He said, if you go into a store and you ask him, where is the ketchup? Or where is the tomatoes? Or where is the salt? Where is the sugar? Does he know where it is right away? He goes, yeah, of course. Why does he know? Because it's his store. He spends all his time there. He says, exactly. The Torah is my store. I spend all my time in it. That's why I know where everything is. Yishtabach Shemo. So now there are different things. There's Torah codes that we can use. We're using, in the old days, they were able to do it with their heads because they were much more bright than us. Today, there's computer programs that tell you exactly how to use what's called Torah codes. But there's also a program that will tell you how to use Gematria, the numerical values of things, in order to see, in essence, a hidden message within the Torah. And there is a program that, if you ask it to analyze the Torah, whether it's the entire Torah, the entire Tanakh, specific sections within the Tanakh, to show you where the Torah has the same numerical value for a specific statement that you came up with, whatever statement you come up with. And where else in the Torah does it have the same numerical value? And this, Rabotai, is what our own very dear Rabbi Ephraim Kachlon did in the book of Tehillim to come up with a numerical value for what was coin-named by the media, or maybe no one in the world of Torah named this. They came up with a name for what happened to us last week. Obviously, it's all terror. Obviously, it's all a nightmare. You can call it the war of Simchat Torah. You can call it the massacre. You can call it a lot of things. But in the media, what they call it, Mivtza Charavot Barzel Tafshin Pei Dalet. The mission of the iron swords, Tafshin Pei Dalet, is the year 5784. That's how they called it, the terrorists called it, the Charavot Barzel, how the media is calling it. Long story short, this is not a name that we found in some type of Torah book. This is a name that was created in the last week, after this tragedy happened. So Rabbi Ephraim did a research in this program to see the numerical value of this particular words, the sentence, Mivtza Charavot Barzel Tafshin Pei Dalet. Where else is it the same exact numerical value? In the book of Tehillim. David HaMelech, Mashiach Tzidkenu. Tell us, what can you tell us? Tell us what you can tell us by using this simple number. This is talking to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, talking to his messenger, David HaMelech. And the program came out with 6 solutions. 6 solutions that are going to shock you. After that, we're going to see even further what the Rambam says in regards to our dear soldiers. If they want guaranteed win, guaranteed safety, and guaranteed olam haba. What the Rambam paskins la'alacha in this world is exactly what they paskin in Shamayim. The Rambam is going to tell us. Furthermore, we're also going to see the specific date of when this happened. And what does the Torah tell us about this date that it happened? What does the Torah tell us about it? Last but not least, we're going to elaborate on the point. We're going to elaborate on the point of how to deal with the casualties of the enemy. Do you have to have mercy? No mercy? We're going to elaborate on why the Torah says there's no mercy when it comes to war. So first and foremost, we're going to go into the program. We're going to see that David HaMelech gave us a message in the book of Psalms, chapter 7, verse number 8. David HaMelech tells us exactly what happened to us. And he says, Ve'edat le'umim tesuveveka ve'alea le'marom shuva. When the assembly of nations surround you, then rise above it and return to the heights. Here Rashi, our dear Rashi, clarifies to us, tells us, what is David HaMelech telling us here? David HaMelech is pleading with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not to listen to the prayers of the enemy after they did evil to Am Yisrael, after they terrorized us, after they raped us, after they did every horrible thing known to man and not known to man. We're going to go back. We're going to attack them. We're going to do everything possible to make sure this doesn't happen, at least not from the same enemy. And they're going to cry like little babies. They're going to say, well, we're reporting you. We're going to censor you. We're going to call the media over you. We're going to call this that one to you. Stop attacking to us. We're going to make all types of fake Hollywood films that are going to pretend like as if we have casualties, like they were caught red-handed. Over the last 24 hours, there's literally a ton of different things they came up with where they show a doll that they pretend is a baby, and they make it as if it was killed. But in reality, you could see it's a doll, it's plastic. But they're too much chamorim. You know what chamorim is? Hamar. Hamar for the Arabs, all of you that are watching. Hamar means chamor, means donkey. And in essence, they this is what they did. Or they take videos, they tell a bunch of people to lay down, pretend like they put some makeup on them to pretend like they're dead, and then they have all the cameramen did. The only thing is, one of the people in the cameraman actually reported this and showed that it's all fake. So of course there's casualties, but it's nowhere near what they're reporting and what they're showing. But this is one of the things that they're doing in their armumiyut, in their conniving nature that they have, in order to stupefy the world, in order to fool the world, in order to make sure that the world doesn't listen to the Jewish prayers, to the Jewish pleas, to the Jewish cries of what happened to us, but rather goes and says, look, we're the ones that are victims. Look, they're attacking us. It's not proportional. Not proportional? What are you talking about proportional? The most demented request on planet Earth that has arisen in this politically correct world over the last decade or so is this political correctness that is required from the Jewish people when we're fighting back for our survival, we're fighting back for our freedom, we're fighting back simply just to defend ourselves. They want us to have a proportional response. So what proportional response do they want us to do? They want us to go and figure out when they're going to have a dance party over there with 5,000 people that are ready to die, and then what, send our soldiers there? Or what, it was supposed to go look for civilians only and little babies? Or like the videos that they released today where they're doing all the things that they're doing. So the point is that proportional response doesn't exist in war. No one on planet Earth actually thinks this makes sense. But needless to say, this is one of the conniving ways of Ishmael, is to make the world feel bad for them. And they cry out, and they also say, Allahu Akbar, and they say, Allah help us, and they say a lot of things. We, says David HaMelech, at the same time we pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not only to save us, not only to protect us, not only to give us strength, but we also pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, don't listen to their prayers, because they're the evil ones. They're the evil ones. They don't have any merits. They've used all their merits. They spent all their merits. That's the first Psalm, chapter 7, verse 8. Second one, Psalm 64, verse 9. When we go to Psalm 64, verse 9, David HaMelech cries out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and he says, "Hear, O God, my voice in my prayer. From the dread of the enemy, preserve my life." This one doesn't need much explanation. What are we asking HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this war? What are we asking as civilians? What are we asking for our soldiers? What are we asking for our people worldwide that are being attacked, that are being, literally just put in situations where no one feels safe, whether you're in Europe or you're in Australia, you're in Canada, you're in the United States. If you're a Jew, at this point, Ishmael is trying to do everything possible to make sure you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe, whether it's the protest or it's the attacks or it's the terrorism or anything else. And what do we ask for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're the only one that can help us. Preserve us from our enemy. Preserve us from our enemy. That's what David HaMelech is telling us. Each and every single one of us has to add additional prayer each and every single day to their prayers to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, preserve me from the enemy. They're the enemy. They're the enemy. We're not the enemy. They're the enemy. Even though we perhaps weren't the most perfect, and sometimes we messed up, and sometimes some of us didn't keep Shabbat the right way, and sometimes some of us didn't do business the right way, according to the Torah, and sometimes some of us did all types of things that are not the best thing, still, please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, preserve us, and we will do tshuva. We will do tshuva. And that's what David HaMelech tells us. This is one of the secret ingredients for us to have protection. Hear, O God, my voice and my prayer from the dread of the enemy. Preserve my life. Preserve my life. Protect me. Protect me. Why? Because I'm not dependent on the IDF. I'm not dependent on the Israeli government. I'm not dependent on the U.S. government. I'm not dependent on any government or any soldier or any person. Why? Because only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can help me. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can help me. And anyone that thinks that they can depend on any government, on any army, on anything else, is making a mistake of a lifetime. As the Torah says, David HaMelech himself says in Psalm 146, verse 3, Al tiftechu benedivim, beben adam she'en lo Teshuva. Never rely on people that are volunteering to help you because it's just a person. And yes, there's nothing that he can do really to guarantee your safety. No one can guarantee your safety. No one can be reliable. One day they could be your friend, the next day they could be your enemy, as what's happening right now. One of the things we saw just a few years ago, the Jewish Americans that celebrated the Donald Trump being president and how he's pro-Israel and how he loves Israel, were very, very disappointed over the last week when Donald Trump went out there and in so many words, made fun of the Jewish people, forgot about the fact that his daughter is converted to Judaism and that he has a grandson that's a Jew. He forgot about all that stuff. What did he remember? He remembered that Bibi Netanyahu didn't support him in his war against the current president, the other one, the senile one, the one that's actually supposedly supporting us, Biden. The reality is Donald Trump was thought to be the Mashiach from some people, such extreme. You say, oh look, the same numerical value of Mashiach ben David is Donald Trump, and people went crazy. They forgot that he's not Jewish. They forgot that he's looking for himself and not for Am Yisrael. If there's an interest, there's an interest. If there's no interest, there's no interest. And right now he showed his colors, literally, at a time where we're murdered, massacred, tortured, taken hostage. What does he do? He says, look, these Hamas people are very smart. And the people in Israel, they have some stupid people there. Listen, you're right, there's some stupid people there, but who are you to say it? Is now the time to say it? Now is the time to support the enemy? Now is the time to remind the world about how you're unhappy with another politician that's here today, gone tomorrow? Now, this is the reality, Rabotai. Never rely on anybody. No human being can help you. No human being can hurt you. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can decide who can help you and who can hurt you. And this is what David HaMelech is telling us. Make sure you never rely on a human being and plead to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to preserve you from your enemy. Furthermore, we're going to go to the third find by David HaMelech. David HaMelech is telling us secrets here in the book of Psalms, chapter 80, verse number 13. David HaMelech is telling us, look what happened. This one is going to shock you, Rabotai. This one is going to shock you. Again, remember, these are not just random verses. These are verses that have exactly the same numerical value as what was named as the name of this tragedy. Mivtza Charvot Barzel Tafshin Pei Dalet. Here, the book of Psalms, chapter 80, verse number 13 says, Lama paratzta gedrea ve'arua kol ovre darech. Why have you breached its fences, so that all who pass by the way pluck its fruit? Hashem yishmor v'yatzil. This is exactly what happened, Rabotai. This is exactly what happened. What happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu simply made everybody blind. Everyone that's usually there, whether it's the tanks, it's the snipers, it's the censoring machines, it's the commanders, it's the soldiers, it's the police force, it's the civilians. Everybody got blinded. Some people are saying it's an inside job. Some people are saying it's a clever job. Some people are saying a lot of things. What I'm telling you is this is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's job. HaKadosh Baruch Hu blinded us to make this thing happen. Why? To wake us up. To wake us up. And he let them break the fence, breach the fence in a way that never happened in history. Never happened in history. Literally, people that publicly, stated they worked there. They were there for years. And even if a bug went on the fence, they knew about it. If somebody was within 100 meters of it, they knew about it. If birds flew next to it, they knew about it. Everything they knew. But on this day, for not only for a minute, not for an hour, for 8 hours, some say even 14 hours. 14 hours of complete silence, complete blindness. Even the people that were there that were being fought against, nobody was able to call anybody. All of a sudden, all of the phone lines are done. All of the text lines are done. Everything is done. No one can communicate. Literally, like darkness, like the plague of darkness hit this spot. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as David HaMelech here says, Paratzta gadrea, you let them breach the fence. Why? Why did you let them breach the fence? So that everyone can pass and pluck its fruit. Who's the fruit? Everyone knows. In the world of Torah, we call our babies the fruit. Our babies, our children, that's our fruits. The fruit of the belly. Why did this happen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We know why. We're going to find out more why. But the reality is, we see that David HaMelech is telling us, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to let the fence break. He's going to let this thing happen. Why? Because we need to wake up spiritually and realize the only thing we can rely on is Avinu Shebashamayim, is our Father in heaven, nobody else. We can't rely on police. We can't rely on soldiers. We can't rely on government. We can't rely on weapons. We can't rely on our own intellect. Who can we rely on? Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven. That's it, nothing else. Why? Because everyone thought, the army, the strongest army in the world, the strongest this, the strongest technology, the strongest missiles, the strongest this, the strongest that. Everything went to the garbage for a period of time that literally allowed these murderers, these vicious monsters, to do what they've wanted to do, literally. As David HaMelech says in other places in the Tehillim, that if it wasn't for you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the enemy would eat me. And literally, this is what these people do. This is what these people do. So when a person sees that David HaMelech already 3,000 years ago is crying out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he let the fences be broken, and he sees this is what's happened here, you realize this is no coincidence. Then we go to pick number 4. Pick number 4, David HaMelech gives us some more secrets. Why this happened. Psalm 108, verse 9. Psalm 108, verse 9, Rabotai Karim, will shock you no less. Will shock you no less. As David HaMelech says, Li Gil'ad li Menashe ve'Ephraim ma'oz roshi Yehuda mechokekei. David HaMelech says, mine is Gilead, mine is Menashe, and Ephraim is the stronghold of my head. Yehuda is my lawgiver. Everyone knows that has learned Torah, has learned Tanakh, that there was an extraordinary machloket, a debate, animosity, a difference of strategy of what to do and how to do between the tribes in those days that caused a major war between the tribes, between the Jewish tribes, where tens of thousands of people died because of this machloket. And of course, anyone that is follows up, or at least is up to date with what's happening in Israel, knows that literally the day before this massacre the day before this horror scene happened in real life, what was going on in the Jewish streets in Tel Aviv and in different places? The lefty liberals were attacking anyone that was trying to celebrate the holiday, anyone that was expressing their religious beliefs. Literally, the animosity between the secular Zionists and the religious Jews, or even someone that was just trying to express some form of connection to his Judaism, there was fighting in the streets. There was literally fist fighting. There was all types of hatred expressed on a day-to-day basis in the news of how much the left hates the right, how much the anti-Torah people, the people that hate Hashem and hate the Torah and are atheists and Zionists, how much they hate anyone that is religious and how they want to destroy them. You even have politicians, this Rasha Merusha named Avigdor, who actually made statements no different than what the Nazis made right before they did what they did. About his own fellow Jews, And when you tell one of these people, listen, we're all brothers, what do they respond to you? No, we're not brothers. We're not brothers. How many times do they say this publicly? The animosity between Jews was to an all-time high, something unbelievable. And that machloket is what David HaMelech is talking about. And he's reminding us, what is the solution? What is the solution to this machloket? Yehuda is my lawgiver. If you do tshuva and you realize that the Yehuda, this is the Mashiach, is going to come and Mashiach is going to put order. There's not going to be two sides to the coin. There's only going to be one truth and nothing else. You have to pick a side now, though. You can't pick a side once the Mashiach comes. Why? Once Mashiach comes, it's just like the times of David and his son Shlomo. We don't accept anybody new. After that. No converts anymore. There's no more tshuva after Mashiach already has taken over the world. And is literally the world of Torah. That is the climatic point that we've been waiting for the last several thousand years. So David HaMelech tells us already again, he's told us that, at times, don't listen to them, they're the enemy. Furthermore, Kadosh Baruch Hu, we know we need you. So protect us, preserve our life, even if we're not in the north or in the south or wherever there's war, even if we're not soldiers in the field, please protect us. Why? Because the enemy is everywhere. And certainly protect our soldiers. Protect our soldiers that are going there, that are trying to literally annihilate the enemy. Protect them also. Furthermore, we know that this is not something that just happened out of nowhere. This is not because of any cleverness by Ishmael. This is simply HaKadosh Baruch Hu punishing us and waking us up and rebuking us and allowing the fences to be broken in order to show us that we cannot rely on our own intellect or weapons or army. We could only rely on Him, because He could literally take all of what we thought we had, all the power that we had from the technology and the weapons and the money and all the other things, and show us it's all worthless. And literally, when you see how the Jewish people are alive right now, in comparison, if you look at the actual map, there's a map that was recently we recently put in a clip that somebody made. You see how many Arab countries surround Israel. Literally, you're looking at dozens of countries, huge amount of land, huge amount of weapons and everything else, and this tiny little speck of land called Israel inside between. It's literally a miracle that we survive. A miracle. Every single day it's a miracle. Literally, some of the sages said the biggest miracle in the world is the fact that Jews still exist. That's the biggest miracle. And that, Rabotai, is what David HaMelech is trying to tell us here. We cannot afford to have a machloket. We cannot afford to have a fight between us. There's the truth and there's nothing else. If you want to go against the Torah, you have to realize that you are putting yourself in the same caliber as the physical enemies. You're just a spiritual enemy. Now, if you don't want to be religious, you don't want to follow, but at the same time you at least have respect and of the people that are following, listen, that's your choice. But when you're fighting against people that have been Jewish their whole life, that have been sacrificing their life for the last several thousand years just to remain Jewish, and you're simply trying to stop them from doing that, you are no different than these Hamas terrorists. We cannot afford such things. So David HaMelech in the fourth item tells us that we have to get rid of this machloket. We have to know that there's a single truth. Whether you follow it or you don't follow it, that's your personal preference. But don't stop somebody else from doing what they want to do, how they want to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu. You don't want to serve it, that's your problem. You're going to have to pay the price. But at the very least, don't get in the way of me trying to serve my God, of me trying to honor Him, me trying to do everything possible to show Him gratitude. You want to be ungrateful, you're going to have to pay the price. But at the very least, leave me alone. And this, Rabotai, is something that unfortunately is not happening right now. It's not happening right now. Right now, in the last week, all of a sudden, there's some people that are starting to realize they made a mistake, especially since many of these lefty liberals, including in those places where they had the massacre, many of them actually supported the Ishmaelim. They supported the terrorists. They supported all of these people. And even the people that attended the party, many of them were attending a party for the sake of freedom and peace and so on. In essence, supporting this whole supporting the enemy in so many words. So many of them are realizing that their support was wrong, but needless to say, not enough. Point number 5, the clue that David HaMelech left us to let us know what God thinks. What God thinks here. Psalm 111, verse number 8. Smuchim la'ad le'olam asuim be'emet v'yashar. They're steadfast forever for eternity, accomplished as truth and fairness. If somebody wants to know what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu asking of us, what is HaKadosh Baruch Hu asking of us to do at this point? How do we get out of this nightmare situation? Surely there's going to be an ongoing debate of how to fight this war, whether to completely annihilate them, to go partial. What do we do? Obviously, the Torah perspective, we already told you. There's literally no mercy is permissible according to the Torah. But there's going to be all types of consequences, all types of other issues that come out of it, and there's going to be a lot of debate over this. The point is that anyone that thinks that this war is the beginning and the end is mistaken. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not allow the slaughtering of thousands of His children just for the sake of Israel taking over some more land and turning it into soccer fields or farmland. No, there's a lot more that's required. If you want to know what's required, that's what David HaMelech is saying. The Torah, the Holy Torah that's been forever, for eternity, the truth, the fairness, that's what we need. We all need to do tshuva. All of Am Yisrael needs to do tshuva if they want a Kadosh Baruch Hu to help them, if they want a Kadosh Baruch Hu to save them from all of the enemies that surround them, the ones that are here, literally among us, and the ones that are threatening to come here. All of these, you want a Kadosh Baruch Hu to help you, the only way that you can assure yourself that a Kadosh Baruch Hu will help you is if you get on the right path. What's the right path? The same path that the Jewish people have had since day one, which is the Holy Torah that's been forever, for eternity. The one that is true, the one that is fair. The one that's fair doesn't mean that it lets everybody walk all over us and do whatever they want. Fair means in accordance to the laws of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you know it's just. You know that it's just. Now the Ibn Ezra comments on this particular verse, and he says that with this verse, a person that really takes this verse to his heart, and really applies it to their heart, is saying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that the Torah is forever, and we accept its judgment, even if that means death. Baruch Dayan Emet, blessed is the righteous judge. We know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed the slaughtering of His own children over the last week, and there's a war going on, and there's unfortunately some of them, some more have been killed in the last few days, soldiers that are trying to fight for the sake of our existence, as far as the physical existence here. The David HaMelech is telling us, says the Ibn Ezra, that we accept this judgment. Why? Because we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, everything that He does is always the best possible option out of all the options that are available to us. Certainly, if the option of complete peace and sanctity and Gan Eden was available to us, that's what Hashem would give it to us. But it's not available to us. Why? Because of our many sins. We don't deserve the Mashiach yet. We don't deserve to have complete peace. We don't deserve to have the Gan Eden yet. What we deserve is what we have right now. If we want more, if we want better, then we have to go to the path that actually put us in the position that we're in, which is being the chosen people, and that's the path of the Torah. Last but not least, the sixth hint that, or footstep, I should even call it, that David HaMelech left us, that David HaMelech messed us, is clear instructions. You as an individual, not just as a nation, but you as an individual, what can you do about this whole situation? David HaMelech says the same exact thing. Chapter 119, verse number 9. Same exact numerical value as all the other verses that I just mentioned to you, that it matches Mivtzah Charvot Barzel Tavshin Pei Dalit. What is he saying? In this clear, holy map that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving us, B'mei zakenar et orcho lishmo kedvarecha. David HaMelech says, how can a youngster purify his path? By observing your word. If you had a doubt until now of who, what, when, and how you should do, what you should do, this, that, or the other thing, you want to be saved, you want HaKadosh Baruch Hu to protect you, you have made many sins, you did all types of things that are against the Torah, no problem. You can start fresh right this second. Take on yourself to keep Shabbat. Take on yourself to be moral. Take on yourself to eat kosher. Take on yourself to, if you're married, your wife to be modest, and also to have family purity. Take on yourself to send your kids to yeshivot. Take on yourself the entire Torah. Take on yourself to learn Torah each day for at least an hour or two a day in the beginning and more over time. I used to say learn 15 minutes a day. Right now we're out of time. There's no more 15 minutes a day. You have to learn a lot more. You have to learn a lot more. Why? Because we're running out of time. And if you don't know how to be a Jew, how to live like a Jew, unfortunately, it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. Whatever you're doing is not going to be enough. So, David HaMelech says, how can a youngster purify his path? You're 16, you're 18, you're 25, you're 35. You're trying to figure out, how do I purify my path? Says David HaMelech, by observing your word. What's observing your word? Observing the Torah. You know that it's in the Torah, you do it. You don't know? Go learn and do it. That's the key. Make sure that you keep learning, and you keep learning how to be a righteous Jew, how to be a righteous Jewish woman, to be modest. If you're married, covering your hair, to always have modest clothes, to have modest speech. Why have modest speech? Why have modest clothes? It's not because of just because of other men are looking at you. It's for your own sake. It's for your own sake. Is to treat yourself like a bat melech, to treat yourself like the daughter of a king. The daughter of a king does not walk around with mini skirts and tank tops. The daughter of a king walks around like royalty. The daughter of the King of Kings walks around like royalty. And needless to say, when you commit your life to your husband, that means that you are giving not just your time, not just your attention, not just your ability to cook, or your ability to clean, or your ability to make money. No, you're giving your beauty to your husband. You're dedicating your beauty to your husband, and your husband is dedicating his eyes to you, meaning that he's not going to look at any other woman. The more modest a woman is, the more her husband is going to be inclined to protect his eyes, because he knows that he has something precious. But when a woman walks around like a garbage pail that everyone can touch and everyone can look at, then needless to say, our husband is going to touch and look at anything and everything that he wants. And this is one of the things that women simply don't understand until after the fact, because countless women, Baruch Hashem, have taken upon themselves to become more modest as a result of watching our lectures. And each and every single one of them that has discussed this issue in depth with us has told us, I can't believe how much my modesty has affected my husband. She's modest, but he's affected. Why? He's more loyal. He's more kind. He thinks she's more beautiful. He respects her more. Literally, unbelievable. But sometimes you have fake modesty. What's fake modesty? It's a 50-50. She changes her clothes, but her attitude stays the same. She changes her clothes, she wears modest clothes, but she still, talks to guys. She still has male friends. She still goes to nightclubs. She still does all types of things. That's not modesty. That's fake. That's what the verse says in the prophet Isaiah. In their mouth, in their lips, they honor me, but their hearts were far away from me. That's the reality. A person needs to make sure that they're not trying to pretend to God that they're one thing, but in reality they're something else. Because the Kadosh Baruch Hu knows what's in your heart. He certainly knows what's in your mouth and in your mind. And needless to say, even mankind knows what's coming out of your lips. So a woman has to be modest in every single aspect. Needless to say, so does the man. Man can't walk around half naked just because he's a man. He can't talk to women that are not his wife. You have a colleague at work that's a female, limit the conversation. text messaging, emails. If you have to talk face-to-face, talk strictly business, know what you do this weekend, what you did this weekend, none of that stuff. Make sure that the modesty is pure, it's holy. Why? It's going to bring a lot of blessing. It's going to bring a lot of blessing. So a man that wants to purify himself, purify his path, he has to observe his word, observe HaKadosh Baruch Hu's word. What's his word? You have to learn it. We have thousands of lectures, Baruch Hashem, over the years that we've made about all types of issues that you can go over, all of the things that help you become a better human being, a decent human being, a better husband, a better wife, a better son, a better daughter. Thousands of lectures. And for those of you that speak different languages, we have our lectures in 14 different languages currently, and B'ezrat Hashem soon we'll have another language added to it as well, and B'ezrat Hashem even more. Our goal is to get to 70 languages. B'ezrat Hashem, just like Moshe Rabbeinu publicized the Torah in 70 languages, we're looking to have our teachings of Moshe Rabbeinu's Torah in 70 languages. But the point being is that anyone that wants to learn Torah has a very, very easy way to do it. You could just go to our YouTube pages, you go to our website, be'ezathashem.org or bhtorah.org, and you literally have countless lectures from myself, from our friend Kachlon, who's a giant gadol and chacham and dayan. It's literally one of the gedolei ador is with us, learning with us, chavruta with us, teaching us every single day. Our own very dear Rosh Kolel Rav Sharvit, who's also a giant. I have no doubt in my mind he's at one point going to become the Rishon LeZion. His genius is still undiscovered. I know it, Baruch Hashem. I saw little parts of it over the years that I know him, but I can tell you that this is a person that is a hidden treasure, Baruch Hashem, that we have within our organization. And you have all of our other avrechim that we have that teach Torah. You have, of course, our own very dear Rav Lev Leib. He's teaching Torah. You have many, many different things in different languages that you can learn an enormous amount of Torah, of how to become a decent human being, a happy Jew, a successful one in the things that matter in life, and even in business. Even in business, because when you do business honestly, when you do business according to Torah, you're assured success. It's not a matter of today, tomorrow. It's a matter of knowing exactly where everything comes from. And I have, Baruch Hashem, many Talmidim that have taken advantage of the relationship that we have and have asked me, aside from Torah questions, also their business questions. Whether it's to take on certain customers or different things. And Baruch Hashem, through the advice of the Torah, they're able to succeed and do well. But the key is to understand is that everything is from the Torah. It's not from my mind. It's not from anybody else. Everything is from the Torah. If it's not from the Torah, you don't have to listen to it. You simply don't have to listen to it. But the key is to know that we have this whole event that transpired, this massacre that happened to us, this horrific nightmare that happened and is continuing to happen right now. We're still at war. We're still not going to war full force like we should. As I told you guys last week, really what should be done according to the Torah is they shouldn't send any soldiers. They should simply just turn the whole place into grass, into dirt. Finish that, and then there's a few other locations that can do the same thing. Why? Because that's what our people need in order to survive the enemy that's among them. And for all of those that were living in denial, thinking, "Oh, it's no big deal. They're just a little group. They're just a little this. What can they possibly do more than they've done before?" Now everybody knows. Now everybody knows that the survival of the Jewish people cannot coexist with the survival of these terrorists. It cannot be. We cannot coexist in peace. It's simply not possible. It's simply not possible. And in fact, even some Muslim sheikh came out recently, and I put it on my TikTok channel and some other places, that he himself, he's from Saudi Arabia, and he's saying, listen, he's a scholar, knows a few things, and he says, listen, the Palestinians, they don't want a country. They don't want a country. They don't want peace. They just want to annihilate. They want to murder. They don't have any real history. They're from all types of nations, Mongolians, Romans, all types of other things that he mentioned, different nations, the mishmash of different nations. They don't really have a history. They don't really have any positive thing to add to the world. And he says they're a cursed people. He wouldn't invite them into his own house, but he would definitely invite a Jew to his house. That's how much he hates them. And he says that Bibi Netanyahu is cursed for not annihilating him when he had the chance. Well, now we have a chance. We have a chance to do it because right now we're at war and there's no permission to have mercy at war according to our Holy Torah. Now that we've seen what happens here, we have to see also that the code of this statement is not enough. We have to also see what else can we find? What else can we find? What else can we find that's literally inside our Holy Torah that's going to tell us about what happened? Tell us about what happened. Rabotai Karim, for anyone that is a Torah observant and therefore follows the Jewish calendar, you know that we don't use the Gregorian calendar that has the different names of months that are based on idols, but rather we have the Jewish calendar that has different names of months and different calendar. And in the Jewish calendar, the date of this massacre, of this Charvot Barzel, Miftzah Charvot Barzel, was the 24th. Was the 24th of Tishrei. I'm sorry, the 22nd of Tishrei. 22nd of Tishrei, Rabotai, it's literally unbelievable. You go to the 22nd Psalm and just read the whole thing. And you literally see what transpired here. You literally see what transpired here. You go to Psalm number 22. And you see David HaMelech crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Eli, Eli, lama azavtani? Rachok mishuati divrei shagati. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why so far from saving me from the words of my roar? Oh my God, I call out by day, but you answer not, and by night, but there is no respite for me. Yet you are the Holy One, enthroned upon the praises of Israel. In you our fathers trusted. They trusted and you delivered them. To you they cried out and they were rescued. In you they trusted and they were not shamed. But I am worm and not a man, scorn of humanity, despised of people. Here David HaMelech is crying out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please help me. Why did this happen to me? I am nothing. I know that I'm nothing, but why did this happen to me? This is actually what Esther HaMalkah cried to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Eli, Eli, lama azavtani? My God, why have you forsaken me? When the decree of Haman HaRasha, who also tried to eliminate us, just like these Hamas terrorists, just like Daesh, ISIS. Hamas is Daesh. Hamas is ISIS. Make no mistake about it. It's the same people. It's the same killers, the same murderers. These are the people that want to annihilate us, just like Haman did. They don't want peace. They don't want land. They want to simply kill every Jew. That's what was literally confirmed in the last week. Not that we needed confirmation, but that's what the world knows at this point. But yet they still have endless amount of support. And it's important for a person to know that David HaMelech says everything that happened on the 22nd of Tishrei in this Tehillim, all of who see me deride me. They open wide with their lip, they wag their head. If one commits himself to Hashem, He will deliver him, He will rescue him, for He desires him. He says, look how much they're making fun of us. They took their hostages. They took our hostages, they took our babies, they took our sisters, they took our brothers, they took our grandmothers. And what do? They make fun of us. They make fun of us in the streets. And anytime we try to say anything about it, what do they say? Like these terrorists are saying on the live right now, oh, report him, censor him, so he doesn't let the truth out. So people don't know. So people don't know the truth of how much they're literally a nation of animals. Animals, not even animals that we've seen, literally the Pere Adam. And this, Rabotai, is what David HaMelech said, look how much they're making fun of me. Look how much they laugh at me. They laugh at how they did all this to me. Who does this? What other nation in the history made all types of videos off of the horrible things they did. Who does such a thing? Who does such a thing? This is what they celebrate. They raise little kids, and you see videos. See little terrorist kids, 5, 6, 7 years old, are being interviewed by their own people. What do you want to do when you grow up? They say, I want to be a terrorist. I want to kill Jews. I want to do this. I want to kill, like, the kid's 5 years old. What does he even know about Jews? He already wants to kill them. Why? That's how they train them. By the way, I even have a person, Baruch Hashem, very, very close person, that grew up like this, with this brainwashing, brainwashed in a million different ways. And they already told me that as little children, they were showing them vicious videos of these people massacring other people and torturing them as little kids, 4, 5, 6-year-old kids. That's how they grew up. On one end, they say, no, we're modest, we're righteous, we're this, but in reality, in the homes, there's abuse, there's rape, there's abuse of the kids, abuse of the wife, abuse of everybody, mentally abusing everybody. That's how they grew up, poor kids. Baruch Hashem, they're grown now, and they're out of this thing, and they're saved. They're out of this garbage, this filth, but they told me. They told me exactly how they raised them, brainwashing them to be terrorists. They brainwash them to be terrorists. And it's unbelievable that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has mercy on some of these people that really don't want to do this, and he allows them to get out. Just like the Gemara says, Abali ta'er mesayim bi'ado, someone that wants to become purified, Hashem helps him. The question is, who wants to get purified? Who wants to be true? Who wants to live the word of Torah, the word of truth? David HaMelech says, those that follow Hashem, Hashem helps them. Hashem helps them. And this whole Tehillim number 22, literally, if you go into it and you analyze it, you look at the commentaries in there, the Ibn Ezra, the Ramban, the Rashi, literally you're going to be enamored. It's like literally seeing everything that happened inside the Torah, even just like these verses, and even more so. Not just 1, 2 verses. You see literally the whole thing. Hashem, why have you forsaken me? What happened here? And we see it's in there. We see everything is in the Torah. We see everything is in the Torah, Rabotai Kalim.
I've heard enough. New arrival screams, echoing through the hallway to know that this ain't good. Once they pass them through the infierno, they don't come back. It's enough to make you go crazy.
Do not think we fear you, Spirit. We know your power is born of evil. This is your last night in the land of the living. You understand me, malevolent demon?
Go within. Just know, Once you cross that threshold, there is only one way out.
There was a rich family that lived here called the Hetheringtons, and unfortunately, their daughter passed away of a heart attack inside the house. Basically, they were so devastated that they reached out to people claiming to be psychic mediums. They actually weren't psychic mediums. They opened up a total of 11 portals inside this house and invited spirits and entities from all different kinds of dimensions.
Well, I think there are certain pieces of evidence that there is an afterlife.
Resurrection of the dead is affirmed pretty clearly in the Talmud and the Midrash.
To be honest with you, to give this lecture is a nightmare. If it was up to me, I wouldn't. There's going to be some graphic details.
This place is a maze.
That person after death went to a place called Sheol.
This is by far the largest near-death experience study that has ever been conducted.
People go to a place and they experience weird things. And sometimes they actually will see a character of some type. Well, where did that come from?
I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there.
They may describe feeling profoundly peaceful, seeing a bright, warm, welcoming light. Some people describe watching doctors and nurses working on them with incredible accuracy.
Next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation.
How long did you feel like you were gone?
I went to a place of timelessness. And so what that means, it could have been a second, could have been 5 minutes. I don't know.
Can you imagine waking up from your sleep and not being able to move?
As I'm lying there, I realized that there's an evil presence next to me.
Do you believe that angels, demons exist?
Holy shit, dude, get out of here! Oh my god, dude!
Strange things keep happening. Bizarre nightmares, as if I'm on fire in the woods.
Whoa, what the hell is this? Man, I've got bad chest pain.
Satan's Hollow is what it's called, the portal to hell.
Some people calling it an eye of fire, while others said it looked like the portal to hell opening up.
And the next thing I know, I was outside of my body, looking at my body.
What I'm going to do is called claromancy, the art of throwing lots or throwing bones.
2,000 years of experience, passed down, recorded, of how demons work.
God has them all on a leash, and he lets the leash go enough to let them tempt us, because that's what makes us spiritually stronger.
I'm trying to be as graphic as possible so you understand what we're talking about.
It's your ticket to reality. It's your ticket to freedom. It's your ticket to immortality.
Is there an afterlife? Is there a
It's
God?
the type of information that can keep you away from the Yetzirah.
What happens to us after we die?